Hi everyone, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Nina. So Nina, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So Nina, you got officially typed just recently. Can you tell us what your full type is?
Yeah, double feminine, Te, play, consume, sleep, blast.
So you are the jumper ESTJ type.
Yes.
How do you feel and what did you think when you got the results back?
Most of it was stuff I had been seeing, so I guess I felt like validated for getting something right. And then, but mostly I was surprised by Savior N. I could have sworn I was a sensor. I thought I was seeing demon intuition, but I guess not. But I don't know, I'm starting to see the NE now, so it's not too surprising.
Gotcha. So you are not going to be the traditional Myers-Briggs ESTJ. You're not going to be controlling at all. In fact, you're going to be chaotic as hell.
Yes.
So talk about that first. Like you are a chaotic ESTJ. So what is that like?
Um, you know, I feel like I have enough chaotic friends to where I do find myself sometimes playing the controlling role to the point where some people, I was asking around before I was typed for feedback, and I did have at least one person say that they thought I was savior control. But my mom absolutely knew I was a chaos monkey. I don't talk to her about my people problems because like I have people problems and like I feel weird talking to her about it. But she definitely gets she's gotten the brunt of the chaos over my lifetime.
Yeah, and you also have feminine SI. So you're gonna be chaos on top of chaos. Talk about that, like how do you experience your feminine SI?
It's weird. I mean, I do feel like I'm pretty aware of it to an extent. I mean, I definitely see a lot of instances where I neglect the sensory, but I also feel, I guess, because it's personal and it is, second in the stack, even if it's not a savior. So, fortunately, it's not as imbalanced as it could be. But yeah, I feel like, no, I have no idea where I was going with that. I already have brain fog. I tend to forget things like as I'm saying them, like mid sentence. It's pretty bad already, and adding any and feminine sensory and blast last is really not helpful for my functioning as a human.
Yeah, well, no worries. I think you clearly demonstrated what feminine SI is uh, by forgetting what you wanted to say, which is super cool. So uh, you have feminine T also. So do you feel yourself like you let the tribe make the decision and you kind of just like go with the flow? Like like the tribe will tell you what they want and you kind of just like TE give it to them. Would you say
Yeah,
you do something like
absolutely.
that? I see.
Mm-hmm.
And then your blast is double feminine. So like what's that gonna be like? Is it gonna be like Dave talks about his double feminine blast, right? And he said it's a fart gas. So how do you describe your double feminine blast?
Um, and it's last, so it's extra weak.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I kind of I was watching Ed Sheeran, who has double masculine blast, and I related to his overwhelming disclaimers of I'm not trying to be controlling, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, I'm just speaking for myself. That's kind of how I talk as well, because I'm very afraid to come off like I'm trying to control the tribe.
And yeah, keep going.
I was just gonna say I feel like I'm almost a little ill prepared for these interviews because I've done most of my processing about a lot of these same parts, but not any SI. So like I feel like I don't have the best insights. So whatever I'm coming up with, I'm kind of just like shitting out spur of the moment. So I'm very self-conscious about that. I'm afraid of saying the wrong thing, something that I'll ruin the entire world or something, you know? So
Yeah.
sorry about that. I'm nervous.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, that's I appreciate you sharing that. But yeah, if something's not clear, just let me know and I'll like describe the description to you, and then you can see if you have any experience with that personally. Um, so ST Blast is giving directions or like step by step instructions. Do you see it? So even though you have it last, it's kind of like that dude that they type. The paleo guy, what's his name? Uh, Mark Sison, I think. So I think he has the same animal stack as you, and so he can still blast even though he has blast last because it's still the first two functions. But he does have masculine SI, so you have double feminine blast. So how would you give someone like a step-by-step instruction, like a step 1 do this, step 2 do this, step 3 do this? Like, do you ever do that, or do you try to avoid doing that?
In general, I would say I do try to avoid it, mostly because I think I had kind of like a positive swing period where I was actually ST blasting a lot, and it was kind of, I mean, it was kind of visibly a demon if you know what to look for in terms of positive spikes, because it was very awkward. People did not like it, and so if I was absolutely like ST planning for the tribe, and I'm like, I will make an entire plan for you for this. Like, if you just let me do it, I need your permission, but I'm gonna do it. Please let me do it. And the tribe was like, no, thank you, and go away. Not exactly, but yeah, I wasn't exactly appreciated. So I kind of took that and like ran with it. And I'm like, okay, so I'm never controlling the tribe again. I do to an extent feel like it organized the ST, probably a very small amount, but that is the kind of thing I do like to keep track of, at least in relation to the tribe, if not for the tribe. But I tend to be meeker about coming out and actually blasting it. I'll like wait till I'm invited.
Gotcha. So if you get the permission, then that's when you unleash it. Otherwise, you just keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Before objective personality, would you say you got mistyped as an ENFP? Because you do come across as ENFP. Like I know you. I like clearly now that we're talking, there's so much so much decider talk that's happening. But would you say you were typed as that before getting officially typed, or have you seen yourself possibly being that?
I was typed as an INFP.
Okay, yeah, I see that too. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, yeah. Actually, if you were typed as an INFP, you wouldn't be surprising as well, because this same issue as ESTJ, right? Like very decider issues. So talk about having people problems as opposed to things problem. You know.
Well, the biggest thing is definitely social anxiety. I pretty much came out of the womb extremely self-conscious, just 24/7. I was, as a kid and even as like a baby, I think I was like super shy around basically everyone except my parents. So like I'm very moat passing in a lot of circumstances because the social anxiety prevents me from playing as much as I am naturally inclined to. I'm like, oh, I want to, the tribe's gonna hate me if I go to them. So so there's a lot of that. I know theoretically I have an identity, but I cannot find it for the life of me. That is something I struggle with, and it's something I'm very aware of because, glass lizard consumes sleep right there in the middle that I'm staring at all the time. And I'm like, my body, my mind, my soul are trying to have an identity and they just cannot find it. And it feels very inconsistent, which is why I'm mildly surprised that I have masculine Fi, especially because I do feel like threatened by the tribe in the way that masculine DEs are said to. But not to say that I don't believe it, just that I was, I don't know, I could have seen it going either way.
They said in the classes that whenever you use your fourth function, even if you have it in a savior state because of the animals, you're still going to be very anxious or nervous when it comes to using it. Like they did a class on that Game of Thrones girl. I think her name is Macy Williams. Is that her name? And she came across as very EJ-ish, like almost like an ENFJ. But there was something off about her state. Like it was like she was just constantly nervous and anxious. And so it turns out it was, even though she had play in a savior state, the TE was it was the fourth animal or the fourth function, sorry, and it was causing her to feel anxious all the time. So for me personally, I have SI fourth as an ENFP, but whenever I have to blast, because I have blast savior, I'm always constantly anxious and nervous that I have to go give this lesson to the tribe, and I feel like obligated to give it to the tribe, even though I don't want to do it because it causes me so much anxiety. So in your case, you have double activated Fi in the consume and in the sleep. So what kind of state do you feel yourself being in all day? Because you are hitting those two constantly, that your fourth function Fi, like all day long, because it's double activated.
I mean, I've always thought of myself as pretty aware of at least some Fi things. And my friend, who I believe is a similar type to me, but I think they're Fe instead of Te, and I think they're play consume blast sleep instead of sleep blast at the bottom. And there's like a visible difference between how aware we are of our DI, because they're double activated on DE and I'm double activated on the DI, and they're always like, how do you manage to like be aware of your needs and your physical state? And I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm terrified as hell when I need to ask for something, like just like you are, but I seem to have more awareness of it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I got nothing.
It's okay. It's feminine SI. So all right. So let's go with your consume. Your consume is double masculine consume. So how are you experiencing that double masculine consume of yours, that NF double masculine consume?
Yeah, I haven't quite processed the N of it as much, but I've definitely seen the Fi in my consume. I saw double masculine as soon as I watched their video on like the double masculine animals. I was like, oh, I feel like mine's consume. And this is not entirely feminine SI. It's also ADHD and brain fog.
Oh, sorry.
Oh my God, I'm
sorry.
No brain.
The video gets cut off for a second. Can you repeat it again? It froze.
Oh, that's awesome. I said something totally stupid.
Yeah, then you get a
okay,
second.
Yes. Could you repeat the question?
It's okay. Okay, so my question is, how do you experience your double masculine NF consume?
Right.
And I can give you examples if you need it.
I would love that. Yes.
Okay, so I have NF consume, and I love fantasy things. Like when I watch movies, I love like Lord of the Rings, like things that are not real. Like it's not that I don't enjoy reality-based shows or movies. I do, but there's a strong preference towards the fantasy stuff. Do you relate to that kind of stuff? Like when you consume things, do you prefer like imagination land as opposed to reality, would you say?
I definitely do enjoy fantasy and other type like sci-fi, that type of thing. I wouldn't say exclusively. I feel like a lot of the reason I end up drawn to that kind of thing is because I enjoy animation, and also because there's a lot of LGBT representation in animation, and that's kind of like, that's one of my like the things that I'm like Fi attached to. is like, if it's got something gay in it, I'll watch it. So like, so I feel like a lot of that ends up being like fantastical type of stuff, you know? But yeah, the FI is kind of overwhelming in that sense. And I am still very afraid of negativity in it. Like I skip songs that I really like, but are sad because they hit me in the FI too hard. Even if they like make me feel it in a positive way, it's still sometimes so overwhelming. It terrifies my FI because like anything that's too strong in it, it feels like, I don't know. It doesn't like it.
So you don't like it, but what is it about that strong feeling that terrifies you? Is it like because it's becoming too personal? Or like what is it about that strong feelings that is just like overwhelming for you?
I don't know. It's a very visceral thing. Sorry. My memory also gets worse when I'm nervous, and I don't know why I'm so much more nervous in this interview than I am in the other two I've done, but I am, so I'm very sorry. Like I literally had thoughts and then I took a breath about to speak and then they all went away.
Yeah. Well, no worries. You can try your best. Take your time. No worries. You know, I have the same function stack as you, so I will understand you. No problem, because we speak the same language, essentially. So it's all good.
I appreciate that. So are you NETE then?
Yeah. I'm the same as you. I'm also play first. I'm play, blast, consume, sleep, so I'm a little bit different, but
gotcha.
But yeah, we have the same functions. We're both play first, so we're speaking the same language. So just take your time, just take a deep breath, and just if we need to go back to it again later, that we can do that. So it doesn't you don't have to, if the memory flew out of your head, don't worry about it. Just it's fine. Move on to a different question and come back to it later. Do you want to do that, or do you?
I think I'm good. Because I just remembered what the question was. So
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, I feel like when it's positive, it's kind of confusing. I don't know why I have an aversion to positive feelings. When it's negative, it just feels like I just can't stand to sit in it because it's just, I don't know. I guess it's like the decider pain thing. Like I'm very afraid of experiencing that pain. Like I was talking to my mom, who I've always suspected is a savior feeler, and I was talking to her, kind of relating to op stuff about like how I was not comfortable sitting with negative emotions, and she was like, "Wait, really?" And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I figured you wouldn't relate to that, but like, do you not understand it? And she's like, no, I love crying. Like it just feels, I mean, obviously I don't love feeling bad emotions, but it feels so like cathartic. And like, I can relate to that to an extent, if only because for a while, like I think the medications I was on made me not able to cry as much. So I had all these emotions and they would like never be able to come out. But I'd still rather not have the emotions at all. I'm not comfortable with the natural process of experiencing chemicals in that way.
Well, when I was younger, I also like not super young. I cried a lot when I was like a kid, but I think when I became a teen to in my 20s, I was also trying to shove away those negative emotion. I try to kind of put them under a rug and just not deal with it. I also hated it when people complained, because for me, I felt like negative emotions, you're whining, you're complaining, and it's just annoying. But I think as I grew older, I started to realize that those emotions is what makes me human. And if you don't have that human factor, it's hard to have a deep connection with other people, because if you don't have those deep feelings, then you are not human, and you cannot have a human connection if you're not having human feelings. So like empathy, for example, you cannot have empathy if you've never been through a dark time in your life full of negative emotion. So those negative emotion gives you empathy for someone else, because you can see how you felt that way before, and you can see someone suffering too, so you can connect through that. So I don't see negative emotion as bad anymore. I actually like it now. Like I love watching movies that are really sad. I saw this movie called Nomadland recently. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's like a depressive movie, but I loved it. It was so powerful, you know. Like I love the negative emotion. I love listening to Eminem, you know, like all that dark stuff. So yeah, so I think I get where you're coming from, and you're in your 20s, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're still young. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with you, especially in your animal stack. You know, you're completely normal where you are right now. Because I was there at one point, and you know, I didn't figure it out until I was in my late 20s. So don't worry about it. Don't think, oh, something's wrong with me. You know, I'm having all these bad feelings. I'm trying to shove it away. Hey, that's normal. It's completely cool. So don't let it get you down. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. There will be a time when you will accept it, and it'll be a part of you, and you'll like it. So right now it's not, but that's okay. Uh, you know. So it seems like if I'm correct, then one of the things you're struggling with is self-acceptance. Would you say?
Oh yeah.
Um, what is it about self-acceptance that is quite challenging? You know.
Honestly, like even when I get even when I kind of get the hang of it for a little while, it always comes crashing down soon afterward. Um, I'm just not comfortable thinking positively about myself, period. This sounds super dark, but like I really do just have this deep-seated feeling of inadequacy and self-hatred. So like whenever I mess up on anything, it'll be like, oh right, that's why nobody cares about me. That's why I am a blight upon this world and deserve to perish in the fiery depths of hell or something. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, any consolation, I like your NF description of that dark hell. It's good. I know.
Thank you.
It's a good description. I like it. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, does it make you feel better knowing that a lot of EJs feel the same way as you? It's not like it's like it's a type thing. Unfortunately, you were given that card and it sucks. Uh, but
It does help, I would say, to an extent. When they first talked about single deciding, they were like weird with people. Just that phrase alone made me go like, oh my God, that's why I am the way I am.
yeah,
And then we talked about EJ, and I'm like, oh my God, that's why I am the way I am. It was like,
yeah, just you're actually completely normal for your type. You know that that is, you know, it's not like maybe there's like a part of you that used to think it's weird, but like since you've seen the videos that, you know, of all the deciders and, you know, being weird with people and self, and like for your type that's actually completely normal. So did that give you like a peace of mind kind of, and like kind of like you felt like you can exhale a little bit, you know?
yeah, I definitely did think there was something wrong with me. And I had been able to identify that there were other people like me. I just thought they weren't common enough in my experience to like really be comforting. It was enough to where I could like find like I could like bond over that type of thing, but not so much that I could really feel like I'm normal. It was kind of almost like a us against the world type of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, learning that it seems to be like hardwired into any number of humans in the world has made it feel a little better. Although I do think I got a bit of a raw deal because I also have ADHD, and with that comes very poor emotional regulation and something called rejection sensitive dysphoria, which means if someone, even with a very good reason, say rejects a hug or something. I'm referring to an actual example from like my freshman year of high school. I like reached out for a hug and they were like, I'm sorry, I love you, but it's too hot. And I literally like, I mean, back then my mental illness was like much, much worse. So I was straight up like literally feeling suicidal because of that. So it's a wild combination. Sorry, I guess that's dark too. I'm always like, oh, here's my trauma. And then I realize like, oh, it's maybe not socially acceptable. So sorry if that's weird. Feel free to cut it out if you don't think the tribe will like it. But I don't feel weird talking about it until I think about what the tribe will think about it.
I don't think it's weird. I like those dark stuff, so it's all good.
All right, right on, right on.
Yeah, no. So okay. So do you think the ADHD comes from the masculine NE then?
I don't know where I stand on the whole like mental illnesses and like developmental disorders like being directly caused by or caused by the exact same thing as type. It kind of seems like there's more of a correlation than causation. But I mean, I am high NE demon sleep like all the others with HDR, so I don't know. It's seeming to be more of a thing because I mean, I think for a while I thought I was sleep savior, so I was like, huh, I don't relate to that anecdote, but no, I do.
Your light is getting dimmer.
Like oh, sorry about that.
Suddenly became like super dark.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's like getting darker and darker. I don't know if it's like late where you are, but
I mean it's still sunny out, but I think it's just the angle. I can turn on the light in my room if you want.
Sure, yeah, because I was like, I can't see you. Like oh, there we go. Now it looks like it's normal. Yeah, no, there it looks a lot better now. Yeah, I'm an observer, so like getting like triggered by it. But I can see it as a symbolism though, because our conversation is getting darker. So like the room started getting darker also. Yeah. So okay, I want to talk about the SF sleep because SF sleep is very dark. It's kind of, I don't know why it's very dark, but it is. So you're sharing to me a lot of like some stuff that's happening inside you, and I can relate to a lot of it. Not completely, but a lot of it I can, because I do have SF sleep and I have a lot of like dark thoughts too. Mine is double masculine too, and it's my fourth, so it gets really messed up. But how do you get that out of you, like all those dark thoughts that you have? Do you have like an outlet for that, would you say?
It's kind of hard for me to separate darkness and the sleep animal from mental illness, and I'm not sure where exactly the line is or how much overlap there is, so it's kind of hard to say. But in terms of just coping with the dark, especially Fi of the demon sleep, it's something I'm still working on, and I'm not really great at coping with it. Like I said, I'm super uncomfortable sitting with uncomfortable emotions. Sorry, someone is talking in a nearby room and I got distracted.
Okay, so let's go with that. Let's go with your play, because I like what so your animal stack is play, consume, sleep. So I do notice that you get sucked in back to the introversion world really quickly. But your attention does get sucked in also when you hear voices like talking, which is very play like, because you know the tribes, what a tribe is saying is important to you. I also experience that a lot. I cannot relax when I hear voices in the back, because of the play, I automatically want to hear like what's being said. So do you experience that a lot, like where the moment people appears, it's like automatic that you get magnetized towards that with zero control whatsoever?
Well, I have two different little pathways to go on that. One of them is yes, but part of it is because I have sensory processing disorder. So any sound or like movement, like a blinking light or someone like shaking their leg in the corner of my eye, or if they're shaking their leg and we're sharing, like we're sitting on the same bench or bed or something, I can feel it and I won't be able to focus on anything. People with sensory processing disorder, like processing the average things that go on every day, just the normal sensory input takes up like much more of our brain power than it does for the average person who doesn't have sensory processing issues. So part of my distraction is not like people exclusive. It's just sensory exclusive. But that being said, the people thing is also something I experience. Like how Dave and Shan have said that the deciders have this like awareness of people. Like if they're in a room with people, like they're just constantly aware of like tracking where they are in the room and like how everyone is relating to each other, how they're relating to others. That's like a huge thing for me. That's something I didn't think that as many people experienced as I did. Back when I was like, oh, I'm weird with people and everybody else seems fine. That's weird. That was one of the things I identified. So it does make me feel a little better that some people experience that as well. But yeah, it's basically like at least some degree of social anxiety appears whenever there's people around, even if they're not like paying attention to me in the slightest.
Where's the social anxiety coming from? Is it like how they perceive you? Is that like, or even if it's just your imagination, like, or is it like, is it something else? Like what is, where's the social anxiety coming from?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just afraid that they're going to judge me for any given thing that I am doing or being. Like even just the dumbest shit. Like I'll be making food and I'm afraid that they're going to judge me for like the order I put stuff away, or I don't know. That's not a real example. It's just, but it's the kind of weird shit that I think about. Is like things that make no sense that absolutely nobody is paying attention to. And if they are, they don't care. I'll still be thinking about like, oh my God, they're judging me. This is so stupid. I can't believe I just did that stupid thing in front of a real living human person. It's just occupying my brain like at all times, unless I'm sufficiently distracted by, like if we're having a conversation or something, I'll sometimes be able to focus more on the conversation. But by default, I am just constantly thinking about how what I'm doing is being perceived by the tribe.
And do you have trouble having a breaks with that? Like, because for me, I'm also very aware of what's happening in a social situation. I think it's the NE and FI. Like you can kind of like gather people's FIs so you can see what like they're feeling at the moment. Using the NE to gather that, of course. And then because of the TE, your lead TE, right? So you care about like what the tribe thinks also. But I'm a double decider, so I get in this weird like inner battle with myself where like I get self-conscious at what people think of me or what they're judging me. Like I used to work at Burger King, for example, when that was my first job when I was 18, and I get self-conscious when I'm making a burger. People are watching me. I'm like stop watching me, fuck off, That's like someone thinking in my head, right? Or like I used to work at Starbucks also, make those drinks, and people are watching me make the drinks, and I like feel uncomfortable being the show. I almost get like performance anxiety, I guess you could say. It's like I'm just making a coffee, but something feels weird. So that's me in my early 20s, right? But then when I got older, people were watching me. I kind of learned how to put a brakes on that. Like for me, I learned like, why do I even care what these people think? Who cares? Just do the job and who cares? So when I got older, I learned how to put the brakes on it. So do you feel like there's no brakes for you at all for that to like, wait, stop. Why am I caring what people are perceiving? The fear is real, because for me, like the fear has never gone away. Like I'll still get to the point where I still have that anxiety as well, like you do. But there's a little bit of like, double decider now where I can say like, just keep moving, Kendrick. Just keep doing what you're doing. They don't really care as much as you think, because they're really just thinking about themselves. Just keep doing. And I'm cautiously proceeding, even though that self-consciousness is still there. So do you find yourself in any of that situation, or do you just get completely petrified still?
I mean, one thing is that sometimes if I like stop functioning, I feel more judged. So I'm like, okay, I have to at least like pretend that I'm doing something, like looking at something on my phone or like checking the fridge or whatever, that I'm like actively occupying myself or seeming like I'm occupied, so I don't seem like I'm weird, while I like collect myself and be like, okay, they're just a human. You're allowed to like make food or exist in front of them. It's okay, calm down. Sometimes it's more successful than others. A lot of times it's just pushing through, but the fear doesn't stop at all. Sometimes I am able to kind of pay less attention to the fear. It all kind of depends on like my mental state, and sometimes who the person is. If I'm more comfortable with them, it's easy to turn off. So yeah, I would say it's kind of on a spectrum.
What I find interesting about your specific type is you have consumed Savior, so you know what you enjoy and what you like. Like you're aware of it, you know, and you're actually doing it too. And you have sleep third. So I correlate sleep also with setting boundaries with the tribe. So do you find yourself having trouble setting boundaries with people?
Yeah, I do. I've gotten better at it in some cases, or maybe just at some times. Like with the sensory processing stuff, for example, a lot of times I like either the person has to stop, you know, doing a thing, like okay at like telling them that, and other times I will just sit there suffering for as long as I possibly can. Oh god, I just remembered something. And then other times I'll be able to express it. Okay, I just remembered that I might be getting extra anxious right now because I don't have my headphones on. I usually have my headphones on for these, but I didn't feel like wearing them today. And they're like noise canceling headphones. So
Yeah,
I think I'm
yeah,
gonna try putting my headphones on and seeing if it makes me less of a panicky weirdo.
sure. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Your video disappeared, and
Oh, you're back. Okay.
it's slowly coming back.
Yeah, you froze for a second.
Okay. Okay. So how do you feel better? Do you feel better with that?
We'll find out.
Okay. You have what do you call it? So what kind of problems have you had in your life because of blast last? Like, do you have trouble speaking up, or do you have trouble getting started? Do you consume a lot, but you don't do anything with that information that you consume?
Yes, very much so. All of that. I am generally bad at setting boundaries, although again, I have improved on that somewhat. I'm just scared all the time of, I guess, taking up space in a literal and metaphorical capacity. So, like, when I'm out in a space physically, I will be self-conscious that I'm like taking up physical space, and I'll be like, I shouldn't be here. I'm in everybody's way, all that kind of thing. And then if I like when I respond to a comment thread, I'll be like, I shouldn't do this. Like my point of view isn't worth as much as the other people's. I shouldn't be taking up space with my opinion. Basically, anywhere you can apply that, I'm afraid of that.
When you're setting boundaries with the tribe, how do you set boundaries? Like, how do you know it's like me time? It's time for me time. Instead of doing things for other people.
That's a good question. I know one thing I've noticed is that, so throughout my life, I have noticed that I never want to like turn down plans or anything. I basically am constantly hoping that somebody will invite me to go do something or hang out or whatever. And I think I haven't gotten as much of an opportunity to do that as I would have liked to, especially in childhood, but really all around. And that was leading somewhere, but I forgot the question.
Oh, I was asking how you set boundaries with a tribe.
Right, setting boundaries. But I started noticing that, like, even when I still wanted to be out expending energy, I noticed that I was getting like irritable, and like, even though I still wanted to be out, but I was like kind of was getting a little snappy, or I was just getting impatient. I didn't really want to listen to anybody. Like I'm like, just shut up so I can say the thing that popped in my head, and then we'll go back to being silent until you have something else interesting to say that I can respond to. Obviously I wasn't like thinking that at them, but that was kind of the core of the vibe that I was experiencing. And eventually I realized that, like, that's the point where I should probably take some time for myself, even if I don't want to lose out on that bonding time. It'll probably be better for everyone if I'm not, being a bitch. So, or even just feeling like a bitch inside my head, because I don't generally, I do my best to avoid being outwardly mean or rude, or even like possibly perceived as passive aggressive. Not to say it always works. I'm not great at the F, especially the FE, but it is something I'm afraid of doing, is like offending people. So yeah, that's one way that I can kind of realize, like, I need to take some time to do the sleep type of thing. And otherwise, the main metrics I use for reference is pretty much just like how I'm feeling. Like if I'm in pain, I have to go home or stop helping with the thing or whatever. But other than that, I'm pretty bad at it. If I can't use like my own physical or obvious mental discomfort as a reference, then I'm kind of screwed.
Got it. So I was speaking to an ESTJ before. I said something to him that he found very fascinating, which kind of made me think it's kind of funny. So as an EJ, do you have like a us versus them mentality? Like this group of people, this group of people, this group of people, like do you have trouble separating people from the group, like thinking of them as individuals instead of the group, it's like this person, this individual, this individual? Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I never thought of it that way exactly. I never put it into those words, but I think that is the case. I've had to learn to do some double deciding there, encountering individuals that I perceive as like initially being in my group, and then I realize, like, oh, you're not totally aligned with this part, which means you might be one of them, TM. So yeah, I've definitely noticed that.
Yeah, because I've had an EJ like experience before when they were weird about people at a workplace, and I was just like, when I because I at that point I was already studying the op stuff, and when I realized that they were like a decider, I'm like, oh, okay. I like at first I was upset at the person, but like when I realized they were just a decider, I'm like, okay, never mind. Because so I work in the fitness industry, so I work in the gym, and then there's one guy goes up like from a distance, does this to me, which is like super rude, right? So I go up to him and I tell him, what's that?
You said that's rude, making that motion?
Yeah, this is rude. It's like condescending, you know.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of it that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess this proves that EJs are not aware that this is condescending, but it's all good. It's all good. So he did that to me, right?
Sorry.
And I said to him, "Why are you doing this? That's rude. Why are you doing this?" I said that to him, right? And in my head, I already said to myself, okay, I'll probably get in trouble for confronting this guy, but I don't care. If I get fired, so be it. But I'm not gonna let him disrespect me like that, And then the first thing he says to me after I call him out on it was, "I don't have a problem with your people," And then in my head, I'm like, whoa, this was never a race thing. Like, I'm calling you out in your behavior, not because, I think you're a racist person. Like, whoa, you're now weird, So at that point, I just laugh inside, right? And I'm like, okay, tell me the problem. Because I got over it already because I was like, oh, he's just crazy, you know? So I leave the room to address the issue that he was having. Come back, I see him talking to another Asian person. And then he said to that person, I don't have a problem with your people. And I'm like, oh, dude, just stop. You're being embarrassing now. Like, it's not a race
Oh my
thing.
goodness.
It's because you're being rude. It's not about like, because I don't even think about race. Like, seriously, I hang out with everyone. I have friends that are, white, black, from the Middle East. I don't care. Like, I don't even think about it, I say racist jokes to all of them, including my own race, So I don't care. Like, but I did notice that with like the decider is that like, oh no, that's like taboo, So so would you say you get caught up in that kind of stuff at times,
Yes. Especially being a younger person who spends a lot of time on the internet, I'm very aware of all things relating to like social justice and, all that stuff. So I've, in a lot of ways, it's good because I've learned a lot from being online in those spaces. But at the same time, it also makes me like hyper aware of certain things that I wasn't thinking about before. And I don't know, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but it's not the most comfortable thing for sure.
Do you find yourself gravitating towards like other deciders as friends because you guys speak kind of the same language or have the same interests, which is people? Or would you say you have a spectrum of people that you tend to talk to or hang out?
I have not typed everybody that I hang out with. So I guess my two closest people are deciders, but then another very close person is almost certainly an observer, and then there are several other people who I don't know what their type is. So it's kind of hard to say, but I am interacting with a lot of deciders currently.
And do you find yourself having a lot of like decider kind of conversation? Like this person did this person did that, this person is like this,
Well, with me and my suspected fellow EJ best friend, I'm not as aware of that exact thing because I feel like it would kind of just feel normal to me if that was the case. So I'm not exactly what we do talk. We do talk about things. I think we both have Savior NE. So I feel like there's a lot of those kind of conversations. We talk about personality type stuff. I'm waiting for them to get into OP. God, I hope they get into OP because I miss talking to them about typology. But anyway, but a lot of what we talk about, we like are actively discussing like, oh my God, yes, I need validation and it's so annoying. Or like my RSD made me feel like this, but like we're constantly like reassuring each other about like, it's okay to have your own needs, friend. And like, yeah, you too. And we're like, sounds fake, but okay. So we're both aware of our need for validation and have been for a while. And we talk pretty openly about that. So it's kind of a meta EJ conversation between the two of us a lot of the time.
I like what you said when it sounds fake, but all right. Like it. So if someone validates you, but it's fake, because can you tell when people are being fake to you? By the way.
I feel like I'm around a lot of pretty genuine people, and it's been a while since I've encountered someone I felt was fake. Most of what I can remember, at least right now, is like I have a lot of instances where I feel like I just don't believe them for whatever reason, but it's not that I think they're lying necessarily. It's not like me doubting their character. I'm just doubting that the thing is true about me. And I go in circles kind of trying to like logic that. I'm like, okay, so do I think they're lying, or do I think that it's a self-esteem thing? And I'm usually like, well, it's probably a self-esteem thing. But then I'm like, okay, so logic dictates that if it's a self-esteem thing, it means and you think they're telling the truth, then the thing is probably true unless you think they're wrong. And it's like, well, I do think they're wrong, but I don't think it's not like I'm calling them wrong. It's just, you know?
The way David Chan describes like double decider is they'll compliment you and then insult you after, or insult you first and then compliment you after. How would you take that if someone were to do that to you? Because apparently that's like the normal double decider thing to do. Is yeah, you can compliment people, but you have to like make fun of them after, because otherwise you're sucking up to them, or you can't just make fun of people all the time because they'll get offended. So you gotta slide in a compliment to balance it out. How would you react to that if someone were to like make fun of you but then compliment you after, or compliment you first and then make fun of you after? Would you zero in on the insult and like really think they're being serious, they're not just like joking around? Or would you be aware that they're joking around but still take it personally?
Well, that's definitely happened sometimes. Where I know that they're joking around, but I'm still like, you're kind of not joking around. And actually, there have been times where they're kind of where I can tell that they weren't totally joking. I used to be pretty obnoxious, so I don't blame them. But yeah, a lot of what happens is I've observed the tribe doing this, so like I know it's a thing that people do, and I've tried to engage in it myself. But it's always weird. I've tried to like jokingly insult people before, and it came off meaner than I meant it to, and I felt so awful. And then people also seem to be aware that I'm a sensitive little bitch, and they don't want to do that with me. I'm always like, no one's ever playfully insulted me, even though that's a thing. It's so weird. Like, why don't they want to do that? And then I like think back to like older interactions I've had where I was a bit more of a nut job, and I'm like, well, no fucking wonder they don't want to insult me, because I'm a what is it? I'm looking for a word, I can't find it, but
you can't handle it.
Like, no wonder they feel the need to walk on eggshells, huh?
They feel like you can't handle it.
I mean, yeah, basically.
Yeah, because I've had the situations before where it's either, I don't know if it's an IP or EJ, but I'll do the typical double-decider thing, and then they'll just take it the wrong way. I'm like, no, I'm joking. Just no, don't take it personally. It's a joke. But then now I know in the future not to joke with them, because now it's walking on eggshells, right? It's like the way you described it, right? Because it's a trigger point, and I'm like, geez, And I think when you try to do it and it came out weird, I think it's because deciders, you like to thingify people. So you like to describe people as things, and that's quite offensive. I don't know if you do that, but I don't have any like.
Isn't that the observer thing? Is that they thingify people and then deciders peopleify things? Like if they have a problem with the printer, they'll make it about the people.
Well, no. Okay, peopleifying things means like, let's say I have a car and I give my car a name and I treat the car like a human, Like, for example, I used to have a car, my first car ever, and my car's name was Archie, and I'll be like, my name is Archie when I sold it. I was like, my name is Archie. It's like, it's like the car became a human, right? But with the deciders, they start calling people like an object, like I don't have any examples because I'm not a decider, so it's hard for me to come up with this kind of jokes that deciders make. But I've heard some jokes before, like I've heard a guy call a girl a crowbar, for example, or so there's like a nickname for something, or like a guy he's a booger, this guy is a booger, it's like to describe this person. So yeah, I see you're laughing right now. So yeah, I guess this kind of humor that you enjoy is like, thingifying people, right? Like there's a description. It could be a cute nickname too. It doesn't have to be negative. It could be positive as well. Like you can give someone a positive nickname. Like you're like a cuddly bear, for example. Or something like that. I don't know. Like, so that's what I noticed about the decider is like, yeah, they'll thingify people. They'll turn the person into an object, and now suddenly it's like offensive,
I haven't noticed that. I'm thinking of something similar but opposite that Dave and Shan have talked about, but I don't know exactly. I haven't really thought about what you're referring to.
I think what you're referring to that Dave and Shan said is that when it comes to deciders, it doesn't matter what a conversation is, it goes back to the people somehow, right? So yeah, you'll be talking about
No,
the
it's
printer.
not that.
It's not that, okay.
It is no, it's that it is specifically the phrasing like deciders will peopleify things and observers will thingify people. But it's not exactly in the way that you're describing it. It's more like an observer will freak out about a printer and a decider will sidestep the printer and be like, the people who designed this or the customer service representative.
Yeah, that
whereas like decider, the observers will be, I don't know, do something else, but yeah.
No, I watched that exact video that you're describing, and that's, yeah, it's like, they're talking about the printer, but it's like the customer service is blah blah blah, blah whatever, right? They're not peopleifying the printer. It's just like the conversation was supposed to be about the printer, but it became about the customer service instead. Like it went to the person.
I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, I lost all the words I was gonna say, but doesn't matter.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just kind of like, I'm info dominant, right? So I'm like, getting obsessed over the information and the thing. So
I mean, I kind of am too. I would like us to be on the same page. Unfortunately, I'm last, and also generally a disaster, so I have no idea how to communicate it clearly enough to where we're on the same page.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We're both NT2, right? So we're both trying to figure it out. We're like puzzling with the tribe, right? So
Yep.
so it's all good. Do you find yourself that you gravitate towards IP the most? Because that would be that if you're an EJ, then IPs would be the most attractive to you as a friend or someone that you would end up dating. So would you say you're attracted to IPs in general? Like there's something about their no apologies about being themselves, like they never apologize about being themselves and doing whatever they want. Like, do you find that like the kind of people that you tend to gravitate towards, that you admire?
I mean, I am dating an IP, but don't know any of my other close people are IPs. I haven't really thought about who I tend to gravitate towards. I do know that IPs tend to trigger me because like my little baby DI feels threatened by their confident DI. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to type more of my friends to be able to say.
So IPs trigger you, but you also find them attractive. So it's like a love-hate relationship. Then you could say.
Maybe. I mean, I've never specifically thought that I find any given type attractive necessarily. If anything, I've noticed that I find myself in like calmer, more stable relationships that make me feel less like a decider nut job with, I think, just IJs so far. But theoretically, it could be all double deciders. And then with EJs, there's like a sense of understanding that I appreciate, and I feel a little less threatened by EJs because I like sympathize with them and I know that they're feeling the same crazy things I am.
Right.
And then IPs, I don't really know how I stand on, like where I stand on them in terms of personal relationships. I just know like the one that I interact with on a regular basis who I know is an IP, and then all the ones online that trigger me.
Got it. Yeah, because I'm an EP, right? So growing up, I had a mixed group of friends. Like I have EJ friends, IP friends, IJ friends. I don't have any EP friends for some reason. But I just thought, I mean, I do now, not that I'm older, but when I was younger, I didn't have any EP friends. But now that, like, I am noticing that I tend to gravitate towards IJs because I'm an EP. Like my girlfriend is an IJ. People that I used to think were IPs, I don't think they're IPs. They're just jumper IJs. So that's what I'm starting to notice now about me personally as an EP, and it's kind of like funny that that's what's happening. It's like it's just normal. Like when you hang out with someone that's your opposite, it feels like you're complete, whether that be romantic or friendship. Like there's like a sense of completion, because it covers all bases. Like this person for me is organizing the things that I don't want to organize, and I'm the one gathering the things that this person doesn't want to gather. Like even I work in the fitness industry, and most of my clients are IJs, I think. And every time I tell them something new that I've gathered, they're always fascinated, right? Because they don't want to gather anything, so they'd rather just outsource it to the tribe, right? Because David Chan said, okay, the problem with double deciders is the thing, so we'll team up, we'll forget about people problem and team up to go tackle the bigger problem, which is the thing. Now for you guys, the single deciders, the people is the problem. So you'll rather be good at a thing so that you can tackle the people problem, essentially. Do you resonate with that message?
I would say so. I don't not resonate with it.
And do you would you say you're very good at gathering and organizing? That's something that's natural for you to do? Like you'll gather information and then you'll organize it, or even in your life, like you can, gather stuff and organize stuff and it's not a problem? Or control and chaos, it's not the biggest problem for you? Like you understand, okay, chaos is going to happen, there's nothing you can do about it, and control is also important, it has its use, so it's not like your biggest problem. Would you say that sounds about right?
Maybe. I mean, presumably it's accurate that, yeah, controlling chaos is not my biggest problem, although having demon OI, like double demon OI, probably like makes it closer to the intensity level of the last demon than it would be for someone who's like double activated on both their saviors. But yeah, I don't know.
I think it seems to me that your sleep is the biggest thing that's causing you anxiety in your life, because the SI is, double demon, first of all. And not only is the SI double demon, it's also feminine. And it's also being used alongside FI, which is your fourth function, which terrifies you. So it's like, even though you're blast last, the blast is not really the area that you're worried about. It's really the sleep, like what's happening inside. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, I would say the sleep demon feels like a bigger problem, and the blast last tends to be kind of on a bigger spectrum. Like, it's the reason I'm not pursuing a lot of things that I should be pursuing. Mostly in terms of like personal goals, which sounds weird because blast is like a tribe related animal, but I don't know, when I think of it as like getting started, there's also something about the way it's like putting yourself out there in a sense, as it relates to that getting started. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm kind of just like shitting stuff out. I have no idea if it even is remotely accurate.
That's okay. No, your perspective and opinion is important, so don't worry. Especially coming from
Sounds fake, but okay.
What's that? No, it's not fake.
It sounds fake, but okay.
Yeah, sure, it could sound fake, but
I know.
But no, I'm just saying.
I know, I'm just being silly. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. I have 2 more questions for you, and we'll wrap up the interview. The first one is,
Okay.
what advice can you give to fellow EJs on how to work on their self? Because you have double activated Fi. So even though it's fourth, you can see it and you are doing stuff with it. Like you are consuming things that you enjoy, you know? Like I think you said earlier, you like animation. So you are consuming things that you enjoy. So you're still doing things for yourself, even though it's scary. So how can other EJs also work on accepting that they can do things for themselves, you know?
Oh man. For me, it's really only come through sheer force of will, where I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna ignore any of the tribe worries I have right now and just do whatever the fuck I want to do. And if I have anxiety, I'm just gonna swat it away and be like, no, bad, and just like I'm gonna suffer, but it's gonna get done, and I will have become a little bit more familiar with it in the process. If you're really rudimentary with Fi, I might, or maybe just Di, I don't know. No, I think I'm specifically thinking of Fi. You can just like do really simple exercises with it in terms of just like when you have an Fi whim, just fucking do it. And if you're like, no, but I got a blaster play or whatever instead, just be like, no, I'm gonna consume whatever I want to consume, or sleep on whatever I want to sleep on, or whatever, or eat the fucking candy. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
I'm very sorry, I don't even know where I was gonna say, because as soon as you started, oh my god, talking is so hard, existing is so hard. I'm so sorry.
no, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, you're blast, so it's okay. Like it's fine. That's why speaking is gonna be challenging. Yeah, okay, I see what's happening here now. It's your double feminine blast. You know, it's like you want to say something, but it keeps flying away because it's like double feminine. And yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Do you have any questions for me before we wrap up the interview?
No, there is nothing in my mind at the moment except for fear.
Okay, thank you for the honesty. All right, Nina, thanks for doing the interview. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your perspective on your life as an ESTJ. You're also double feminine ESTJ. I don't think I've interviewed a double feminine female. I did interview a dude, I think, a while back. So yeah, thanks again, and take care and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks. You too.